We are back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back again to this year's series or installment of the Let's Talk About series for the year 2023. Welcome. As always, I am always so excited to do this series, and we always come with, some interesting hot topics but important topics, life topics, right, that we've got to talk about. So this series is no exception, and on this series, this month of June, we are going to be talking about relationships. Yes. But first of all, I just want to say thank you to those who have given me feedback on previous series that we've done. I always appreciate, people reaching out to me and letting me know how much it has blessed them and how it was, it had come at the right time, and, just the wonderful comments and words that people have had to say about previous series. So I am very grateful for that. And it's an encouragement to me. It's an encouragement to me to keep going. I will keep going regardless, because I feel like this is beyond myself. This is something that, I believe that God wants me to share, so I'm not just sharing because I want to share, but, I do want to share, but I'm also sharing because I do feel that, this is something that God wants me to do, and I'm meant to be doing this, So, yeah, and also just to say as well that it's not like we're all on a learning journey, right? So in talking about the series this month and even previous videos and future videos, I'm sharing everything I've learned so far, and I thank God that I'm someone who, who loves to understand life. I'm a student of life, as they say, and there's one thing to be a Christian, and it can be so easy to just be a Christian and be earthly useless, as I like to put it. But God wants us to be in His kingdom and earthly useful at the same time. So, and in order to be earthly useful, you've got to understand the earth that God has put us in. You've got to understand the mechanisms of how it works. You've got to understand the principles, by which this earth operates. So everything that I share is a journey that I myself walk on by the grace of God. And it's things that have been tried, tested, proven, and I know that it works. And I'm just sharing as God gives me inspiration and of all the abundance of the things that I've learned, and I'm learning. So, with that being said, let's talk about it. So this month we're going to be focusing on relationships. Now, relationships is a broad topic, okay, so I'm going to be kind of breaking it down, okay, and this month is also going to take a more sort of informal style. Yes, so it's going to be more chatty and more informal, definitely more informal, okay. I'll try my best anyway. Sometimes I become formal without realizing, so we'll see how that goes, right? And yeah, I really pray that you're blessed. So firstly, I'm just going to be breaking down all the different types of relationships that exist, right? So obviously the main one that we all know is family relationships. And even that has like subgroups, okay? So there's the family that you grew up in, right? Your family of origin, your parents, your siblings. There's the family that you build when you get married, right? So yourself and your husband or your wife and your children. That's another set of family. There's the family that you have with your extended family, right? So the siblings of your parents and so forth. And then there's the family that you have from marriage. So your in-laws, your father-in-law, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-laws, and so forth. So family has a big, a broad sphere. So that's family. Then the next one is friends. And I would kind of categorize friends into two main groups. So first one being like good friends. So friends that you love to hang around with, you like to be with, and you enjoy their company, and you share things with, and so on. You really see them as someone that has got your back and they're in your corner, right? That's one group of friends. Then the second group is what I would call the confidants, right? So those are the ones where you have a much deeper friendship, where you are able to share deep stuff that is going on in your life, right? You're able to share difficult things that are going on in your life. You're able to share intimate details or situations or sensitive situations that are happening in your life, right? So those are your confidants, those that have a much higher level of trust than just your friends that you have a good time with, and you know they like you and you like them back and so forth, right? Then the third one is acquaintances. So people that you know, but you wouldn't call them your friends, but and you have like a cordial relationship, or a polite relationship, interaction with each other. And then you've got what I would call your functional relationships. So relationships that are built because you are doing something functional together. So these include work relationships, right? You go somewhere, you're doing something, you go in there for a mission and you make friends, or you build a relationship with people that you meet there. So those are functional relationships as well. So throughout this series, I'm actually going to be focusing on every type of relationship apart from the marriage relationship. So I'm not going to be focusing on that on this series, but the other types, okay? Now, I'm not going to be specifically talking about them, but those are the types of relationships that I'm referring to when I'm going to be sharing, all the things that I'm going to share on this series. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the first things that I want to say, and one of the most important things that I want to say is relationships are so important to a person's well-being. Being able to have good, healthy, strong relationships around you is so critical. And the reason for that is because we were born to be in relationship. I know you probably heard me say we're born to do so many things, and that is true because we are multifaceted beings, right? Okay, we're born to worship, we're born to this, we're born to that, and we are born to relate. God put us in relationship. That was why God made Eve, right? Literally because of the purpose of a relationship. That's how he started marriage. So it is in our DNA. Okay, so if a person tells me that, I don't need anybody, I just want to do life by myself, I don't really need anyone, it's not true. Honestly, that person is speaking from a place of trauma. It's very clear that that person has gone through terrible, bad experiences and they're hurt, and from that they feel they don't need people because people have caused more damage than good, right? And this is why this series is so important, because I believe that there is a way that we can navigate all the craziness in the world and all the crazy people in the world and still have and build and sustain good and healthy relationships. So that's what we're going to be talking about. The number one killer of people, right, which a lot of people really don't think about, is actually loneliness. It's a slow killer. That's why I say people don't think about it. And it's also many times an indirect killer. So even when we talk about people dying from disease, heart disease, this, that, and the other, many times those diseases come about as an indirect consequence of unhealthy, dysfunctional, toxic, traumatic relationships. And those things then affect the person internally, causes depression, causes anger, bitterness, resentment, and all of these things eat people up from the inside out, and those things then lead to heart disease, high blood pressure, ulcers, so many diseases, even cancer as well. Cancer is a big one. It's deep-seated stuff, and it all results, a lot of it results from relationship dysfunction, from trauma that has arisen from previous, terrible experiences that people have had in relating with other people. So ladies and gentlemen, we gotta understand relationships, because the solution, with some people's solution, which is being alone, isn't the solution. That's a slow killer. And if you decide that you want to have relationships, but they're all toxic and dysfunctional and negative, that's also a slow killer. So we've got to understand, how do we actually develop good and healthy relationships? Because as much as we want to have relationships, we also don't want to allow just anything and everything into our space that is going to cause us damage, that is going to make us worse off than we were at the beginning, right? So that's really what, you know, this series is going to be about, and this is why it's so important for us to like delve into this and learn. So next week we are going to be talking about boundaries, because you see, being able to form good relationships is being good at knowing what to have in your life and what to keep out of your life. Okay, so we've got to have boundaries. God created the world with boundaries. He created the world with laws, with principles. You'll realize just how specific those boundaries have to be. For example, you know, human beings can only exist within a certain temperature. Outside of those temperatures, life is not possible. That's a very, very strict boundary right there. You know, that's just one example, and there's loads more. So boundaries is something, it's a God installed thing that really provides an area of safety, you know, in being able to relate with other people. So understanding boundaries is very critical. Knowing what kind of people should I be allowing into my life, what kind of people should I be keeping away from my life, right? Toxic people. How do I develop boundaries? How do I set boundaries? All of that good stuff. Then the next week after that, we're going to be talking about mending broken relationships. So I don't think there's anyone who hasn't, you know, if you've lived on the earth long enough, and I mean literally, if you have become a teenager or you've hit your 20s, you definitely would have experienced some sort of broken relationship. So I'm going to be talking about how to mend a broken relationship. Is there a particular relationship that, you know, you look back on with regret and you feel like, I totally messed that up? Like, I know I was the one at fault. I missed out on a very good friendship, or I really messed up a really good relationship that I had with a family member, or you know, or whatever. I want to talk about how you can restore those relationships, because it's possible. It is possible to restore broken relationships. So if you're interested in that, look out for that. And then finally, we're going to be talking about how to actually build healthy relationships, like how to move forward, just simultaneously building healthy relationships as you go through life. And you're going to realize that it's really not what you think it is. It has more to do with you than the people that you are relating with. But how do we build and sustain healthy relationships as we journey through life? So stay tuned for that as well. Okay, so it really is going to be a very, like I said, interesting topic. And some of it may be uncomfortable, you know, but you know what? The truth is uncomfortable sometimes. And for us to heal, for us to move forward, for us to make progress, we've got to deal with the uncomfortable stuff. We've got to deal with the things that are not quite okay. We've got to sort out stuff, right? Sometimes sorting out things is messy, you know, but we gotta go through that mess first and then come out better on the other side. So I look forward to sharing with you for the rest of the series, and I will see you next time. God bless and peace out.